What? What do you want? What do you want? Alright, fine. Come here. Come here. There you go.
The true co-host.
This is where everyone's here to see. Hi, buddy. You got in the mud this morning. You got in the mud this morning. Huh? Alright.
If you were to relate to one famous actor, who would it be?
If I were to relate,
Yeah, I feel like I am this person.
I feel like Nick Offerman.
Okay.
He's not as libertarian, red-blooded as he is Ron Swanson, but he still is very much a fisherman, likes his woodwork.
Oh, you like your woodwork, huh?
Appreciate some good wood. Anyway, but he's a really cool guy, and he's pretty open about a lot of things, so he's actually a really cool dude. I'd love to actually have a beer with him.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Or some Lagavulin.
I think I would relate to,
I feel like you get along with Jeremy Renner a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, Paul Rudd.
Two totally opposite sides. Paul Rudd.
Anyway.
You just want to learn close-up magic.
I do want to learn close-up magic. I'm gonna learn close-up magic for this show, actually. I'm gonna do it. That'll be our cold open. It's just me doing magic. That's the magic.
Let's drink some beer.
Yeah, let's get this show on the road.
Oh my god. Love that sound.
Welcome back to the Beer Cave, everyone, with your host, Audie.
And Derek.
And today we're going to be talking about how to pick out beer at a liquor store. But before we do that, let's definitely crack a beer. So this was actually given to us by one of our friends. It is Lark Brewing out of Iowa. We've had Lark Brewing on the show before.
What kind of beer or bird is this again?
Oh, God.
Which episode was that?
I don't remember, but I didn't know at the time what kind of bird was their logo. Thankfully now, after some handful of people had to comment, this is a lark, which is a type of bird, which I did not know.
But this beer that we have,
Fireside 2020 from Lark Brewing out of Waterloo, Iowa. It is a rye ale that's aged in Buffalo Trace barrels. It comes in at 9.1%.
Try that again.
It comes in at 9.5% and 32 IBUs. So this
Try that again.
Comes in at 9.5% and 27 IBUs. So this is going to be a very interesting beer because we're starting on a high note.
This is going to be a strong beer.
Should we crack it open?
Let's crack it open.
All right. Oh, yep, she was full.
Yeah. Get your money's worth. Let's see how bad this goes. Oh, that is a full
Yeah,
can.
it's very full.
Oh, dang. I tried to pour slow. Got a little more for me?
Yeah.
Sweet. Right away, I'm smelling wheat, rye, instantly.
Yes. Wheat, rye, little bit of raisin.
Maybe a little bit of corn, too. Kind of that mash. Like, you can definitely tell that this was a little more whiskey based.
What are you seeing for carbonation?
Initially a bunch, but it's actually gotten a little cloudier since it's been poured, which
I think that's kind of a chill haze because we do have it pretty cold, so
that's
it's
true.
kind of a chill haze to it. Not even a finger's worth of head. You had no head.
But I poured mine before yours, so yours will probably dissipate pretty quickly.
Yep. Should we go in for a sip?
Let's do it.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Wow.
Wow. So I get a lot of like dried stone fruit, like dates, plum. I get a little bit of sweetness, but it's more of it's like a bourbony sweetness. It's like a corn sweet.
Not so much. I mean, you get the rye flavor, like beer rye flavor, but not really that whiskey rye, not that spice forward.
Yep.
I do get the fruit as well, a lot more like you said, stone fruit, but I almost get stone fruit up front, and then that rye finishes off kind of drying that mouthfeel a little bit.
Not super hot when it comes to the booze factor.
It reminds me of an extremely smooth whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely. It is warming up my stomach a little bit.
Yeah, this would be a great campfire beer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Sitting around the campfire, sipping on this. This is not a chugger. This is not something you knock back. This is going to take you some time to drink.
I can already tell we're going to feel pretty good after this episode.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
And we have a mini to shoot today, too, so...
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this beer warms up, actually. I think as it warms up, we're going to get some different flavors. I think this is going to be... I'm hoping it to be a very complex beer. Aging process in the whiskey barrels, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah. Should we talk about how to buy beer?
Let's talk about buying beer. So this is going to be a segment that we're going to kind of delve into, and it's going to be more than just this episode. We're going to be talking about different aspects of buying beer, either at the store, at a brewery, at a restaurant, depending on what you're eating. So this is going to be an ongoing topic. More than you think about buying beer. There's more that's going on, especially from a marketing standpoint, which is kind of what we're touching on today. We're going to be talking about first impressions. When you first walk in and you look at a beer, you look at just a line, just a wall of either coolers or a shelf, and just being able to go up and find what you want. And I did a little experiment with it. I went into the local liquor store today, and I just looked at three things. I looked at what was the first beer that jumped out at me, and these are beers that I have not bought before. So the first beer that jumped out at me, I chose a simple beer that still popped out, something just based on its simplicity on the can art. And then I chose a beer just based on, I don't have to dive in. I don't have to pull the can out and look at the can to read what it is. It was just very descriptive right off the bat.
Well, exactly right. We live in a day and age now where walking into a liquor store, it's almost overwhelming the amount of beer that you can choose from.
It's intimidating.
So yeah, and as you guys know, the Beer Cave is here to educate, inform, and drink beer. So we're here to educate you and inform you and drink beer with you.
To be fair, Audie has a marketing background, so I did this without him, knowing that he might.
Yeah, I have not seen these beers yet, so I'm not really sure. You know, you went in alone and you said, these are the three things I'm looking for, so here's what I'm picking out for that.
I imagined it as if I was going to a friend's house and let me just quick grab some beer. I just need something cold, something quick, but I want something different. The first one I chose, I think you've had it before. I have not actually had this beer that I remember, but it jumped out instantly at me, and that is Zombie Dust.
A Zombie Dust by Three Floyds Brewing. So why did you pick this one right away?
Exactly as it sits right now. Green, yellow, red, very contrasting, very, some decently bright colors, but just a face staring back at you with those yellow eyes. I walked up and I saw it and I scanned right back to it and I was like, that's...
You're right. When you see the face of this pointing right at you, it catches your attention. Because you see these eyes looking right back at you. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times in a marketing world, that's very uncomfortable for people, which actually is a good thing. You want to make your customers uncomfortable a little bit because then they remember your name.
Drawing emotion into it is what you're doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what Zombie Dust by Three Floyds is doing here with their packaging, is they're trying to make you a little uncomfortable and doing it in their own style, which is very aggressive. So another thing to point out in this packaging is the title. It's in a very bold, bright color that is, like Derek said, really easy to read. So another thing when we're looking at packaging and you want to jump out to your customers is color, and you want bright colors and things that really pop out.
That was the first beer.
Yeah, move on to the second one. Good pick for the first one.
So the second beer, I went and looked for simplicity, and I wanted something that still stood out, but based on its simplicity. What's going to draw you in? Looking through, I'm just looking for a beer that is going to be no nonsense. All these colors and stuff just threw me off for a while after picking that beer. Mm-hmm. So I found this one. This is Ideal from Wild Mind Artisan Ales.
Wow. Okay.
Extremely simplistic, but in a sea of color, all of a sudden a singular pure white can stood out, and just having Ideal. Now this was a little different because on the last one I kind of was able to see what the beer was. This one I had to look into it a little bit. I had to dive in and see what style it was. I actually had to turn around the can and see. It really just caught my attention because just that pure snow white color versus yellows and reds and blues and oranges. And there was another can like this that was orange, but I was trying to keep it to a certain price point to keep all these around the same, about $14, $15. The other one was $24. So I decided, or $22. I decided against that one.
And we'll talk about price pricing on a different episode.
Yeah, absolutely. But this one jumped out, not plain, but very simple, very pleasant to stare at.
That's exactly what we talk about in marketing when it comes to packaging, is we talk about two extremes, right? We talk about something that is extremely busy, extremely loud, extremely boisterous, and that catches people's attention. But then you can also go on the opposite end of the spectrum and be ultimately super simplistic. I'm a guy who tends to do more simplistic. I've always been taught keep it simple, stupid, which is probably one of the best words to live by, is just keep it simple. And that's exactly what Wild Minds did with this one. Sometimes just seeing something so simplistic eases your mind a little bit, and so you gravitate towards that because it's not so chaotic. And that's perfect for this.
As an electrician too, the one thing I noticed, the lights inside most coolers tend to be a little more of a cool white, almost a bluish white.
Yeah.
And so when you get a pure white can with that bluish white, it tends to almost make it even glow a little bit more.
You're right.
So a very good choice on that as well.
Yeah, good choice. I like this one. Move on to the next one?
Yeah. And the last one I looked for was just a beer that, if I'm in a rush, I just want to grab a beer that I don't have to read into the can. I don't have to try to figure out what it is. It says it right on the can in big bold letters. And so the last one I grabbed was a hazy IPA from Ska Brewing. That light bluish green really popped to me on the orange too. That blue and orange is two opposite sides of the color wheel if you look at it. So they worked well together, and it literally said hazy IPA. It's what I'm looking for at that point. Grab and go.
Yeah, you're exactly right. This goes back to keeping it simple. You know, when we're in a sea of craft beer on a shelf, and you're trying to figure out, you have a style that you really want, it's hard to shuffle through all the beers and figure out, is this the style I'm looking for? If I want a hazy IPA, for example, I have to go and try to read most cans to try to see, is this even a hazy IPA to begin with? And this is a perfect example of keeping it simple and throwing it out there and just telling people what it is.
Comparing wise, all you know on this is it says ideal.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about what style this is because we didn't. Is it really?
It's a German style Pilsner.
Oh, yeah.
So with that, it's the same idea where you can tell exactly what this is. This one, I have to physically grab it off the shelf and actually read what it is.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. On this beer, even though it's very eye-catching, you don't really know what you're getting. Whereas this, even though it's great, it tells you exactly what it is right off the bat. You don't even have to touch it off the shelf. You know exactly what you're looking at without even grabbing it. But yeah, you're right. This keeps it simple. This says hazy IPA right off the bat. It's a nice seafoam green over orange contrast so that you can easily read what's going on with this beer. Yeah, good choice. I agree with everything that you chose. That's exactly what we're trying to find here. Is what are you looking at? How is the buyer mindset when we walk into a liquor store and start buying beer off the shelves?
I did want to talk about a couple other things with this. What are some things that you maybe want to second look at when you're looking at beers, picking out a beer for the first time? You want something new. What are some almost red flags or just something to be aware of when you're looking at?
When it comes to this kind of stuff, there's no right or wrong answer. Things that I try to avoid, I kind of tend to stay away from labels that look not the best quality. Some labels you can definitely tell that they slapped the sticker on themselves, or it's one generic label for all their beers and then they just have a separate label for what type of beer it is. Sometimes that's not always the case. Sometimes that is really good beer, but I found more than not those places, they're just starting out. They're breweries that are not even a year in and that are trying to distribute to liquor stores. To me, that's moving a little too fast for what they need, and sometimes that just means that they're skimping out on the quality of the product and going straight to just pumping it out as fast as they can.
It's that quantity versus quality argument, and not giving them time to refine their product can really detriment.
Exactly. That's the other thing is when it comes to labels, if they don't have certain information on them, it's a little concerning and it's kind of a red flag, and I tend to stay away from that kind of stuff.
From my experience, it tends to be a real turnoff for me when there's a brewery that has just over the top, super bright colors, and you can't read it well. It, like you said, not having the proper information is a big no for me. I really like to be able to see what I'm drinking and just knowing, what is the ABV? What is the IBU? Understanding what style beer this is.
Wow, I am feeling all 9.5 of this. Can you feel it now, Mr. Crab? Well, that was a really cool look at how people actually look at beer labels when they walk into a liquor store. So let's get back to the Fireside 2020 by Lark Brewing Company. How, we're kind of almost done with this. How are you feeling with it?
It kicks you.
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
You're feeling it.
I'm feeling it. And it sneaks up on you too.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't, going back to it not being hot and not being super boozy. It's warmed up a little bit in our glass, and actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of help warm it up even more and
just
see if it
expedite the process.
Yes, exactly.
I have noticed you don't get that. You're saying that chill.
Yeah, the haze hasn't gone away.
It hasn't gone away. Still very good. You really at this last little bit get almost no carbonation looks, but it still is there. It stayed consistent throughout. I have tasted more rye as it's come out. It's warmed up a little bit. Less of the fruit, less of those that date.
I think you're right. It's consistently throughout the glass, it really has not changed much, which I was expecting, especially with something that's so high ABV. Usually it heats up towards the end just because it's warming up in the glass and you get more boozy notes, but those really haven't shown up, hence why I'm trying to speed up the process here and warm it up with my hands. Should we give it a rating? Are you ready to give it a rating, or you want to work on it a little more?
No, I'm ready.
So every episode, we give each beer a rating. Everything from a thumbs up to a thumbs sideways to a thumbs down and everything in between. So on 3, should we give our rating?
Yeah.
All right. 1, 2, 3. So I have a kind of a sideways thumb, just because it's not my style.
I get that.
It has a time and a place, and I definitely see where that time and place is, but I'm not even through a full pint of this, and I'm feeling real good. And that's not why I drink beer. I don't drink beer to get me to that place. Granted, if I was sitting, like Derek said, if I was sitting by a fireside, hence the name Fireside, with a 10-ounce pour of this, just sipping on it at the end of a night, I'd be actually pretty happy, and that'd be pretty good. But I have a problem with beer that has those stone fruit flavors. Dates, dried dates, or like dried raisin or plum, for example. It doesn't sit well with me.
Does the clove sit well with you?
Clove, again, is kind of part of that, where you get clove and banana, and maybe I don't get that. I definitely don't get that at the back half of this, but I definitely got it at the front half. Those kind of beers just don't sit okay with me. They're just not my style, hence why I give it a sideways thumb. But if you're into Belgian beers, which have a lot of those flavors, or Hefeweizens that have some of those flavors as well, this is definitely a beer for you.
Me as a bourbon guy, I gave it just a slight. I was expecting it to be a little more complex as it warmed up. Now maybe I didn't give it enough time. I still thought it was a phenomenal beer, but I just would have loved to see a little more, complexity come out of it. I thought it really hit the nose. I was expecting a lot more rye forward, a lot of that spice, and I am more of a bourbon guy than a spice guy, or than a rye guy. So getting that nice balance was really comforting, really enjoyable.
That was Fireside 2020 Rye Ale from Lark Brewing out of Waterloo, Iowa. And this was another episode of The Beer Cave with your host, Audie.
And Derek.
And until next time, cheers. I'm feeling fine.
Looking good and feeling fine?
Wow. I am feeling really...
Oh, no.
So that was Fireside 2020 by... So that was Fireside 2020 Rye Ale. I had it too. That was... Damn it.
That's it? That was the take?
So... Yeah, I don't know how to transition, but so that was Fireside 2020 Rye Ale by Lark Brewing out of Iowa.
You were about to offend some people. You were about to offend some people.
And
And you've been beard. That's what I expected you to say. Honestly. You've been done educating.
Love that sound.